morning. I'm George Dean, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, a leading provider of human services in the Valley. You are watching Urban Connections, and let me be the first to say Happy New Year to you. We are now into 2020. Can you believe it? It's amazing how this time has gone so quickly. But for those of you who are watching Urban Connections for the first time, you need to know that this show came about through an agreement with the Greater Phoenix Urban League and Channel 3 that we would bring you a program at least once each month to talk about various issues, situations, concerns, conditions, and so forth that are taking place here, not only here locally, but in our state and indeed nationwide. And today, that's what we're going to do. In fact, since we're so early into 2020, we're going to look back at 2019, and I'm very pleased to have as my annual guest for this, Clovis Campbell, the co-publisher of the Arizona Informant. And we're going to talk about the top 10 stories and also take some predictions in terms of what's going to happen in 2020. So stay tuned. We'll be back.
When you think of Miami, you think of, rich, glamour, but 5 miles away from the beach, there's people who've never seen the beach. I was confused why somebody was in this situation, especially in America. So when I started Joshua's Heart Foundation, it was a key thing to be able to engage youth in the foundation, to help them participate. I think passing on the torch and lighting a new flame in another person to do good is probably one of the bigger missions that I have. So we are each making a bigger difference. That's it, just giving back and producing love for everybody.
Selfless service is the principle that guides Army National Guard soldiers to be ready whenever disaster strikes. They have a stake in the well-being of the neighborhoods where they live and work. They train part-time to be ready to serve at all times. Selfless service. It's what inspires the men and women of the Army National Guard to be part of something greater than themselves. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
We're taking this show on the road.
It is Field Trip Friday.
Like only Good Morning Arizona can.
This apple pie is amazing.
It's Field Trip Friday, sponsored by Sanderson Ford.
What an amazing free TV Field Trip Friday.
Taking you to the places.
This is the photo people come from around the world to take.
Meeting the people
that make our state one amazing place to call home.
And come out and see the Sanderson Ford Swag Wagon.
Giving away free stuff.
Field Trip Friday, sponsored by Sanderson Ford, and only on 3 TV.
Welcome back. George Dean, President, CEO, Greater Phoenix Urban League, a leading provider of human services in the Valley. You're watching Urban Connections, and as I said earlier, I have as my guest this morning Clovis Campbell Jr., the co-publisher of the Arizona Informant, a newspaper that's been around now for 40 years?
49.
49 years. Oh, we're getting close to our 50th year there.
Getting close. Next year, 2021, will be our 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary. Fantastic. And this is at least the fifth or sixth year that we've been doing the top 10 stories, Clovis, so I'm glad to have you back.
Always a pleasure to be here, and I think it's even been longer than that. It's been so many times I can't remember.
Exactly right. But okay, let's get into the top 10 stories for the Arizona Informant for 2019.
Well, what we try to do is highlight mostly Arizona issues and things that happen here in the state. But of course, you can't not see and remember the fact that we're also in the midst of it now is President Trump being impeached.
Okay.
When it first started talking about it, Representative Al Green out of Texas was talking about impeaching him back in July. And it's all come to fruition, so we're sitting here talking about impeachment today.
Okay, so number 10 is President Trump has actually been impeached.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're
Absolutely.
still talking about the trial and so forth.
But once it's a trial, that means you've been impeached. So he is being impeached right now.
All right, all right. Number 9.
Well, number 9 is a big issue in Arizona because of the education issues and the fact that Arizona ranks lowest in funding education in Arizona. It also ranks as one of the worst in achievement scores in Arizona. So through a partnership with the NAACP and the Urban League and the Arizona Informant newspaper, there have been some various workshops on the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act scores. And so with those low scores, we had talked to the superintendent, Hoffman, and she hired Erica Maxwell as the new assistant superintendent on equity, inclusion, and diversity for the state of Arizona.
Okay, okay. And that's so very important. That Every Student Succeed Act, it hasn't received a lot of publicity, but that really replaced No Child Left Behind.
Correct, correct.
That the Bush administration had, and Obama came up with the Every Student Should Succeed Act.
Put some funding behind it, and it's actually been getting a lot of steam, and people are really working towards supporting it.
Okay. And equity and equality is something that is so very important. I mean, we can talk about equality, but equality is not equity.
Exactly.
It's a difference.
It's totally different,
two
different things, for sure.
So, number 8.
Number 8, you know, a lot of historic things happen around the country, and here locally in the state, we try to do some of the same things that they're doing around the country. And so there was a big celebration to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the enslaved Africans being brought to North America.
Okay.
That program happened at First Institutional Baptist Church back in September, actually in August of last year, and we had several of our leaders from the community there talk about how important it was to understand and remember our history and how Africans were enslaved and brought here, and make sure people don't remember that it didn't happen by the fact that some books trying to say that we were jumped on ships and cruise ships and came here in search of jobs.
Yeah. I mean, and it is something that is still prevalent today. I mean, we don't have slavery as such to the extent that it was back 400 years ago when it first happened, but there's still so much going on. Racism is still a very, very important part of what we live through every day.
And some of the people who are very wealthy now made their money from their family off the backs of Africans and working as enslaved people. And so those folks who are living with those fruits now have to understand that they got that money because of other people's hard work and the fact that people were enslaved by their ancestors. So that's real important to talk about.
And I also understand that slaves had a big hand in building the White House that we have now.
Absolutely, and it's ironic that it's called the White House.
That it's called the White House. Yeah. That's, oh my goodness. Okay, number 7.
Number 7, we were privileged to have back in April of last year, former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder came to visit us at Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church. The ASU program, the Center for Race and Democracy, hosted that and did an excellent job. We filled up the church. Obviously, Eric Holder coming to Phoenix means that there are a lot of people that want to come see who he is. Talked about the importance of elections, talked about the importance of voting, talked about the importance of civil rights. Several points were talked about, but to have someone of his stature come to Phoenix and talk to us and share his thoughts was really important. And I think it was a really important deal.
A real leader.
Historic, exactly, a historic event.
Yeah. And if I remember, since we were talking about it, former President Obama also came to Arizona a couple of times too.
Absolutely, absolutely. He was here, and
I know he campaigned here.
He campaigned
back
here
in 07, 08.
07, well, you were there.
Yeah.
When, we had him come over to ASU, and he spoke to us. He spoke specifically to a group of African Americans, and not just for a couple of minutes. He spent almost an hour and a half with us.
That's exactly right.
So, you know, that was just a prelude for things to come.
But I think that it also points out the importance of Arizona too. That I mean, when you get folks like the president coming in here, when you get folks like Eric Holder coming in here, and then Arizona has been red, but now there's talk about Arizona turning purple and so forth.
Absolutely. Well, you know, we've got a couple of new, we got a new black, I mean, not black, but a Democratic senator, U.S. senator with Kirsten Sinema. We've got more congressional members on the Democratic side. So we're starting to balance out and seeing where Arizona is a state that has become real important, but also has become more balanced as a community.
And maybe being called a swing state? Is that
Absolutely.
Is that what they're saying?
I believe
now?
it is a swing state, and I think that this is going to be pivotal to see what happens. Even though it's a strong Republican state, there's still some people that are moving to Arizona that have shifted that Republican feel and that conservative look on things.
Okay. All right. Okay. I just got the signal. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and go some more with the top 10 stories of 2019. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
To be a trailblazer.
To be a community leader.
Join Arizona's family and the YWCA in honoring our community's outstanding female leaders at the 26th Annual Tribute to Leadership Luncheon, February 20th at the Scottsdale Resort at McCormick Ranch. Celebrate the women who've given their time and talent to make this community stronger.
The women who dare to be powerful.
For tickets, visit ywcaaz.org.
Thank you from YWCA and Arizona's family.
When you think of Miami, you think of, you know, rich, glamour, but 5 miles away from the beach, there's people who've never seen the beach. I was confused why somebody was in this situation, especially in America. So when I started Joshua's Heart Foundation, it was a key thing to be able to engage youth in the foundation, to help them participate. I think passing on the torch and lighting a new flame in another person to do good is probably one of the bigger missions that I have. So we are each making a bigger difference. That's it, just giving back and producing love for everybody.
Weather alerts, interactive radar, and how much rain fell in your neighborhood. Download the AC Family News app.
Welcome back. George Dean, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, a leading provider of human services in the Valley. And I need to mention to you that 2020 is also going to make the 75th anniversary of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, and we are very, very proud of that fact. But I'm talking this morning with Clovis Campbell, Jr., the co-publisher of the Arizona Informant newspaper, a newspaper that's been here in the Phoenix, Arizona area for 49 years. And we're talking about the top 10 stories that went forward in 2019. And number 10 was President Trump impeached. Number 9 was Erica Maxwell appointed Assistant Superintendent of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion with the State Department of Education. Number 8 was First Institutional Baptist Church hold a program to commemorate 400th anniversary of enslaved Africans brought to North America. And number 7 was former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder visited Phoenix in 2019. Let's go now to number 6, if we will.
Number 6. Well, back in 2018, we had a record number of African Americans seeking offices around the state for elected positions.
Okay.
We had over 45 people then. This year, coming up in 2020, we're looking at, because we've already heard them sign up, there's only going to be over 60 candidates running for elected office in 2020.
A new record.
A new record, which is great. We've been talking about that for years. I know you've been pushing, getting people more active in political scene and making sure that we get younger people coming up.
Okay.
And they're doing just that. So I think we've been doing a good job, and it's good to see more African Americans moving to Arizona, so we know that that means more African Americans should be seeking elected office.
And that's all positions too, statewide, congressional,
from school board to city council
yeah,
to state legislature, all the way up to congressional members and county seats as well.
Well, you know, we live in a participatory democracy, and how we participate is by being office holders and by voting.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
2020, I don't know if that's one of the top things, but 2020 is going to be a very crucial vote.
2020 is going to be crucial in the fact that the census is coming up in 2020.
As well as the census.
I think you're going to see Arizona's numbers as far as African Americans that actually live in Arizona increase probably from 5% to probably 9, almost maybe 10% of African Americans in Arizona now.
Okay. And I also heard that Arizona might very well get another congressional seat.
Well, looking at those numbers.
Depending on if the census is fully counted and everybody is counted.
Right. Well, you know, that's always a big issue is those numbers, specifically in the minority community, African American and Hispanic. So if we can get those numbers accurate, we may see another seat come up, which is always good for us.
My goodness, my goodness, man. Arizona is really moving on up, as George Jefferson would say, moving on up, moving on up. All right, number 5.
Well, number 5, as a couple of Phoenix youth were killed on 4th of July. One was a young lady who was a member of our NAACP Youth Council, 17-year-old young lady named Hannah Williams. She was killed by police officers in Anaheim, California. A real good kid. I actually knew her personally, and we never really found out what happened and why she was shot. Police say she was only 17. She was a really good, sharp kid, and I guess she took her parents' car, got out of the car, and they claimed she had a gun, and they shot her as soon as she got out of the car. So
crying out loud.
So that issue. And then the other one, which was not police-related, was another youth in Avondale was walking into a Circle K, had been listening to some music in his car, and a man, I guess, who said he just had some PTSD issues, stabbed him several times and killed him because he was listening to rap music. That is still going under investigation now after having many discussions with the Avondale police.
In Avondale, Arizona, we lost a young man. How old was he?
17 years old. 17 years old. So, you know, losing our young people because of things like this is something that's really important right now.
Not doing anything. I mean, just being kids.
Being kids, listening to music. Some guy said that it triggered some PTSD issues in him, and so he went out and came into the store, followed the kid into the store, cut his throat, killed him.
Wow. What? And you said the investigation is still ongoing?
It's still going on. A young man named Al-Amin is still going on.
Okay. But we gathered at the church, I think that was at Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church that we gathered for the community, and the chief of police and the mayor and city manager.
Well, we talked at Phoenix Police Department, but we also went over and talked with the Avondale Police Department, too. So we were there, and their police department was real helpful. They're still investigating that now, but I really don't think there's much to investigate. You know, once you see what happened, it's quite clear. So they're saying there's still some work to do, but they shouldn't drag their feet too long.
Was there any video?
Yes, there was store video as well. So they have the video from outside the store and inside the store as the guy followed the young man into the store.
Okay, and the young man didn't do anything at all to bother him?
No weapon. He didn't even see the guy. The guy came up from behind and killed him.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, next.
Next, Phoenix, back in March, Phoenix elected new mayor. Kate Gallego was elected mayor, who was then at the time a former District 8 councilwoman. She had taken a seat that had been held previously by Mr. Calvin Good, Cody Williams, and Mike Johnson, and had been previously there for almost 40 years, held by an African American. We also had that city District 8 race to replace her, and Michael Johnson ran again for his seat. Unfortunately, the African-American community didn't turn out in the numbers we should have. Some people went over to other candidates, and we were unable to retain that seat again. So right now it's, I believe, Representative Carlos Garcia. City Councilman Carlos Garcia sits in that seat.
Carlos Garcia, that's right.
So we still have no African-American representation on the city of Phoenix.
On the city of Phoenix.
Fourth largest city in the country.
Yeah. Okay, number 2.
Number 2, we were rejoicing when we finally got rid of Scottsdale, I'm sorry, not Scottsdale, but Prescott State Representative David Stringer, who has said many African-American negative things about African-Americans and minorities in particular in Arizona. And so it finally caught up with him when they found out more about his background, and he had some issues with some child pornography, etc. And so he finally resigned in March of 2010.
Of 2019. Okay. Okay, we got one more to go, but we're going to take a short break and get back to number one, and then we'll do that. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
When you think of Miami, you think of, rich, glamour, but 5 miles away from the beach, there's people who've never seen the beach. I was confused why somebody was in this situation, especially in America. So when I started Joshua's Heart Foundation, it was a key thing to be able to engage youth in the foundation, to help them participate. I think passing on the torch and lighting a new flame in another person to do good is probably one of the bigger missions that I have. So we are each making a bigger difference. That's it, just giving back and producing love for everybody.
Monsoons, hoboobs, ice, oh my. Arizona's Weather Authority is hitting the road to bring the weather and howler to your school.
Oh, I can see.
See that? Arizona's family's teaming up with the Arizona Coyotes for the Weather Roadshow.
What's he doing up there? Learn about weather from the Valley's most experienced team.
Visit azfamily.com to request a roadshow stop at your school. Sponsored by the Arizona Coyotes and only from Arizona's Weather Authority. Start your mornings with Javier Soto. Weekdays only on 3TV.
Welcome back. George Dean, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, a leading provider of human services in the Valley, talking with Clovis Campbell Jr., a co-publisher of the Arizona Informant, newspaper that's been around now for 49 years. It's getting old.
Yes, sir. That's a good thing.
But that's a good thing. That's really a good thing. And we've been talking about the 10 top stories of the Arizona Informant for 2019. You know, we've done this for a number of years now, and we've had everything from President Trump being impeached to Erica Maxwell being appointed the superintendent of equity, diversity, and inclusion with the State Department of Education. And that's a new position. That's something that's never happened in the state before.
Brand new.
To have a assistant superintendent of equity, diversity, and inclusion. First Institutional Baptist Church held a commemoration of the 400th anniversary of enslaved Africans brought to North America. Attorney General Eric Holder came here. We had a number of black candidates that ran for office, and we're going to have even more so in 2020. We had the community together at church to address police violence. 2 youths were killed listening to music and for no reason whatsoever that is still being investigated. We got a new mayor in Phoenix, and Mayor Kate Gallego, but we still have no black representation on the Phoenix City Council.
Right.
We got rid of, I shouldn't say got rid of, but the former state representative Dave Stringer resigned.
Yes.
It was good for the state and good for the image of the state and so forth. And we're now down to number one.
Number one, I think she's been in the news almost every month, but she's been doing a lot of positive things. A good friend of mine, and of yours, of course, Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams, fired and suspended some officers because of some incidents that happened earlier in the year in May, where the family came out of a store and was accused of shoplifting with their kids. And the police followed them and then really abused them and roughed them up, made the badge look really bad at a time when we need to have the badge look good. And I think we, as a city and as a community, were applauding her for standing up to fire some of these police officers, which probably had never been done in this manner before in Arizona. So we think Jerry's doing a great job. And this was a big issue because we're still talking about it right now.
Okay, that's so good and so forth. And we had Chief Williams on this show a couple of months or so ago, and I'm very, very pleased with how she's doing and how she's setting a new standard for the City of Phoenix Police Department.
She is. She's doing a great job. I commend her. I look forward to seeing her do her job more. And I think as time goes along, she'll be doing some things and has done some things that will be historical in the City of Phoenix.
And we need to let the community needs to show their support for Superintendent Williams.
Absolutely. The police officers need support as well, and I think she's doing a good job in building up that support and that security that people need.
That is so good. Now that we've gone through the top 10, there's also been some sadness that has taken place in terms of some notable African Americans that passed away in 2019.
Well, you know, notable from local first, I thought it'd be more important to talk about them. We lost, and you know, we both know most of these people here. Honorable Corey Payne, a former mayor of City of Chandler. I know you know him quite well. He was a friend of my family, and we lost him. Recently just lost Judge George Logan, who you knew as well. Betty Liggins, a former civil rights activist in Tucson. We lost her, and she was real prominent in a lot of things that happened in the city of Tucson. Mr. Lester Knox, we all knew Lester, a businessman in downtown Phoenix. Lost him after a long battle with some issues. And then Perry Elam, who was the Black Wall Street president and doing some economic things in some community, we lost him. We'll speed it up a little bit. Also, Joe McDonald, an educator in Phoenix. You know him well, Joe, from around there. We lost him. And then Mr. Judas Andrews, who was a local attorney. We just lost him recently as well.
Absolutely. Wow, 2019 has gone. We're into 2020. Clovis, I want to once again thank you so much for coming and sharing this information with us. And get us to look back and look forward. All we know is vote, 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 and get counted in the census and so forth.
Absolutely.
So those are the two major things we need to have happen in 2020. I'm George Dean, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Urban League, and we'll talk with you next month on Urban Connections.